I live my normal life and all of a sudden it's all eyes on me. I'm done with gymnastics and I'm not a gymnast anymore.
I feel like you would say that a lot. You're like, I'm over it.
I made it as far as I did because of pressures and being pushed and also having that drive in myself, but I was also taken out because I hated it.
Well, you're really open about like all your struggles in gymnastics. People would make fun of your weight, or coaches would make fun of your weight.
Imagine being told that from the time you're like 13, where you're not good enough, and you constantly hear it and you constantly believe it. It made a really big impact on my life in terms of dating life, relationship life.
You had this rare skin disease for a while. How did that affect you?
There's beauty and there's darkness within that.
Not many people will travel the path that you did to get where you are right now. I think you changed the gymnastics game. Before we get started, if you could do me one favor, if you received any value out of this podcast, please take the time to like and subscribe to the show. My goal is to keep growing this podcast and bring you the most creative and talented humans in the entire world. Taking the time to like, subscribe, and comment allows me just to do that. Thanks, y'all. Miss Katelyn Ohashi.
What's up?
What's up, friend?
How's it going?
Good, how are you?
You know, just been quite a few years since I've been on here, so I'm pretty excited.
Yeah, it's been, I think, November of 2020.
And we've only gotten closer since then.
Only gotten closer. What's different nowadays in your life than 2020?
I'm like trying to think like what was even going on in 2020. I still feel like I live a quarantine life besides seeing friends.
How so?
In the sense that, you know, my day-to-day is pretty chill.
Yeah.
And I could work remote.
Yeah.
Most certainly. For the most part. I do travel again.
You travel a lot.
Yeah, I'm back on the travels these days.
Yeah,
which is
you're catching
really nice.
flights and feelings.
Oh, yes. Yeah, big change since we last talked. We hit a year this month.
Relationship?
So, yeah.
That's big.
It's really big.
How is it being, I don't know, I guess 2019 was like the big year, right?
Yes.
And then I met you right after that and we became good friends. Like how's the transition been from that big year of kind of just going viral, right? Kind of just like not a lot of people knew you to a lot of people knowing you.
Yeah.
And like how was that transition, and like how have you gotten used to it over the years? Have you are you adapted well to it? Like how's that experience been?
All right. So, yeah, it was kind of like all at once and it felt really crazy, but something that
Crazy in what way?
Crazy in the sense that it's like, okay, I live my normal life and all of a sudden it's all eyes on me.
Yeah.
You know, 200 plus million views.
Yeah.
But I will say it's like since I got social media when I was probably 13, I've had a decent amount of followers since the beginning of it.
Yeah.
So I've always learned how to...
Just because of gymnastics.
Just because of gymnastics, yeah.
Yeah.
I remember, I don't know, maybe some of you guys know Allie Raisman. And she like shouted me out one day and all of a sudden it was like...
The gymnast, right?
Yeah.
I had a huge crush on her.
I mean, as do most people. Yeah, she's pretty awesome and cute. So, yeah, I remember just having probably 11,000 views at a very young age and then, you know, growing throughout the years. So I knew in that perspective what it was like to have eyes on me and I'm actually really thankful for it, right? Because, you know, people that get virality older in their life and people go back and look through their social media. They're like, you tweeted this from 2010 and it's like, whoa, I don't remember that.
Yeah, that's the whole thing that happened to like Kevin Hart. Like he couldn't host one of the shows because he tweeted something about like his son. He'd be mad if his son was gay like 10 years before that. And I'm just like, that sucks. I
know. It is kind of crazy because you think about, I mean, not love, but I love to talk about cancel culture because it's such a wild age that we live in where we want to be super open-minded, but we're super closed off in a lot of ways. Yeah. And we don't build communication in order for failure and learning and growing from that.
Yeah.
So of course, like 2010 was a way different time. Also
cancel culture, like they don't let the person who's being canceled like say their piece type of deal
at all. And imagine when it's two-sided, like two people involved in something, it really is tragic because the one person that's the loudest or gets their word out first, that's what everyone believes
because it was the first thing out.
So the second person just sits there and like no matter what they say, it's just void. People hate it, and no one gives them a chance.
People love the tea.
I mean, we love the tea.
Don't do that. But back to the, I guess, 11,000 views at 13 years old. Like, how did it feel to, like, did you conceptualize it at all? Like, if you put 11,000 people in a room, right? It's a lot of fucking people. Right.
I mean, no, I never really did. I just understood, like, okay, I have to be and act a certain way, which is also, now that I'm older, it's kind of interesting to think about because, okay, this is the thing. Like, I wish I could be super outgoing in front of a camera, but as soon as a camera's on me, I kind of shut down and feel like I have to be a certain way. And then I think back what that stemmed from, and I'm like, because I've always had to be a certain way in front of people. And in front of the camera, in front of an audience. So, I feel like it kind of changed the way I am today. And
you have like two different characters.
Essentially.
But it's not
the filtered and unfiltered.
I guess like right now too, it's like not intentional necessarily. You're just used to it. You're like, oh, game mode, camera mode, I'm on. Yeah,
and then you kind of get. I hate the phrase like I was lost because I don't think people ever get lost, but I think it did mold me into who I am.
Yeah, but you didn't get jaded by it. You know, like there's a lot of people who you could look at like the TikTokers of LA, right? Who get a lot of money and get a lot of views and like this and that. They think they're like better than anyone. And like anytime like I've ever hung out with you or gone out, you're like, what's up, bro? Let's have a deal. Like you're a normal person. Like you care about like and respectful to like the people around you at all times.
I mean, you've met my family.
Yeah.
I'm like,
I think that was the biggest thing when I went to go visit your hometown, like where you're from and the house that you guys lived in and like where your mom told me that you like practice tumbling in the front yard and like the cat sanctuary and
chickens are living.
Yeah.
They're chickens
in the bathroom.
Overcome the bathroom now.
In the one bathroom house, right? And I was like, it was really inspiring because like this makes sense why you are the way you are.
Yeah, I'm like super grateful for my family, my upbringing. I'm like super, I think, it's definitely made me grounded and shaped me who I am today. You know what my mom said the other day? We were hiking and she was like, you know, you have a big head sometimes. And later I'm like, what? What are you saying? She's like, well, you always say I'm her favorite. And I'm like,
I'm her favorite. You're her
Favorite?
favorite?
Yes.
Okay.
I know I messed that phrasing up, but like I always say, I'm your favorite. And she's like, that could become like, that's big-headed, Katelyn. I'm like,
is it true?
I'm like, tell me it's not true, Mom.
What'd she say?
She's like, I don't have favorites. I just say, you know, what it's like when you're the only girl and you're the youngest. So by default.
How does that feel if you're the only girl, you're the youngest, and you've objectively done the most, I guess, significant thing out of the family?
You know what my mom always says? She's like, you're the creation of all the women in our family. So my grandma was like a superstar. She was so talented and was a really awesome artist. Yeah. And my mom, you know my mom. I could talk about my mom all day. She's so resourceful.
We're calling her Mama D
Mama
today.
D, exactly. Resourceful. She hand builds everything that's in our house.
Okay, hold up, guys. Katelyn's mom is like the man's man. Like she will build anything and she will out like manhood you. But she's the most gentle, sweet human being ever. It's the coolest thing, and I don't know any other person like her.
I don't either. One of one. So yeah, I mean, she's total badass. And then, I mean, I'm not sure the background for the rest of my like great grandmas or stuff like that. But I'm pretty sure, as my mom would say, I'm pretty sure we are Jewish and we changed our last name and stuff like that. I had to get out. And
isn't it funny how family stuff gets lost in history? Because I don't really know my great grandpa, and I don't know my grandparents before that. You know, I don't even know my grandparents on my mother's side. They passed away.
Neither. But on my dad's.
And it's funny because everyone thinks that what we do is important, and it's funny because like we always want to be remembered and leave this stamp on the world, but you don't even remember your grandparents or your grandparents'
people in
parents.
your family.
I
Like
know.
that's messed up.
Do you ever think about that?
Yeah, I guess so, right? Like you think about, I'm sure as everyone has, our world seems so big in the moment. And even that goes for mistakes or accomplishments. It's like, everyone should acknowledge me. I'm on top of the world, but
Yeah.
we're our biggest character. And then you hope.
Yeah,
that-
everyone's the main character of their story.
Yeah. I mean, look at even some of the greatest artists that are recognized like way after their death. And so you never really know what type of footprints that you are going to leave. And you just hope to be able to touch the people that are closest to you in whatever way, or not even closest to you, whoever you encounter. And, you know, they probably won't remember your name, but maybe they'll remember how you made them feel.
That's definitely a thing.
Yeah.
That's a quote too.
Oh.
Or it's
Just-
a quote by Katelyn Ohashi, guys. Make people feel good. So you have a house now. That's exciting.
House, yeah.
And like how's being a house owner in Los Angeles?
Let me tell you. Okay, don't do it. It's awesome because I feel like I can paint every room now, but
Your artist in you is probably like, I'm gonna fuck this shit up so good.
Yeah, and then I do something and I'm like, oh my god, why did I do that?
What
I hate
what is
it.
something that you didn't like?
Okay, so I have I have like 8 windows in my bedroom.
Okay, that's a lot of windows.
It's a lot of windows, and some of them have like incredible detailing, like wood paneling all over them.
Yeah.
And so I was like, this is gonna be really cute. I'm not even a pink girl, but I've been kind of into pink, so I'm like, okay, we're gonna go pink around the frame and on the detailed little slats. And I did it, and I was horrified. Like, what did I just do? And also made so much work for myself. Like the taping part probably took at least 3 hours.
Okay, question. Why are you painting it yourself?
Why not? I think it's therapeutic, 1.
Okay.
2, I'm like, yeah, if I hired someone, it probably would have been to scrape off I'm sure there's a lot of paint on there, and there's a lot of mistakes that I'm realizing. There's so many leaks from the previous people that did it. So I'm like, oh gosh, I should have got someone to actually do it and like scrape it off. But I think painting is really fun, and it's something that people waste a lot of money on. Like someone probably would have charged me $2,000 to do something that I could do on my own and it not be that big of a deal.
Yeah.
I am a little terrified of like, oh my gosh, it looks so bad. But when you do 2 coats, you realize it never looks that bad. So me and my mom like paint walls together.
It's just there's some like people who are perfectionists, right? Like the painters of the world who are like really good at what they do, and they do it every single day, and it's gonna be right 100% of the time. And like some people just like want it to be like perfect.
So this is my thing: is this house is not forever. And some renters are gonna have to rent some shitty ass paint job.
Like sick, dude.
Yeah.
Why is it not
so-
forever?
Okay, so for those that don't know, I bought a duplex, and it's awesome. And it was a place that I'm like, I'm a single person. I don't need a full house. Let me make money and this be my investment project.
Yeah.
So when I move out, I'll be able to pay,
Rent too.
yeah, pay my mortgage off completely and, you know, honestly be able to continue making rent after. So I bought this place as a stepping stone and somewhere that I also loved and wouldn't mind living for X amount of years indefinitely. And I just know for me personally, I love karaoke and I love being loud and I love not having someone live below or under me.
Yeah.
or above or below me.
Above or below you.
Which I am on the bottom floor, which I like actually because I am that loud person.
Yeah.
And I feel like I can run around my house.
Why do you like karaoke?
It's so fun.
Why?
So gymnastics has made me a performer, and that's something that I love doing in life is performing and having just...
Kate's the life of the party, guys.
No, Jason is.
Shouts out, Jason.
But I don't know.
American Ninja Warrior, guys.
Yeah,
Go check him out.
The best. So I just love dancing and singing and having a good time. I think it brings people together too, right? Like when we're together, it's kind of like, oh, what should we do? Karaoke, that's easy. Okay,
so doing gymnastics and being really good at it and being in front of a big crowd, like I would say you were confident because you're capable of those skills.
Yeah.
Okay. And like singing and dancing, like you're not as good as gymnastics, would you say?
At all.
Okay, cool. But when I've seen you dance or sing, like you perform it, like you're just as good as gymnastics.
Make it till you make it, right?
Yeah. And I guess, how do you develop that confidence to be that like a free, outgoing person doing those things that you're not that great at? Because there's a lot of people who are insecure to just like let loose and be like your most authentic self. And like, regardless of you're good or bad, like just feel in that moment and like let yourself do whatever makes you joyous or happy and stuff like that.
I've learned that if you look uncomfortable or if you feel uncomfortable, you look uncomfortable and therefore you make everyone else uncomfortable.
Okay.
Whereas if you just fake it till you make it, you can kind of become that person that you want to be.
Sure.
And most of my, not necessarily regrets, but kind of when I've been like, oh, I wish I would have done this, was when I was underperforming or not playing to who I was authentically. Like, oh, I'm really embarrassed to... Okay, this is a perfect example. I was at the All-Star game in 2019.
Basketball.
Yeah, and... Look, I'm 4'10". We know I'm not a basketball star, but here I am. I'm also the only female celebrity in it. So already feeling a little awkward and uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And I was so scared of messing up. I didn't take any shots. I barely played in the game. And I remember I had like 30 seconds in the beginning and like 10 seconds at the end.
Yeah.
And my teammates literally threw the ball to me like, shoot it.
And you just didn't take shots.
And I just gave it up to Chance the Rapper, and hate to break it to you, he airballed every single ball. And I was like, look, yeah, maybe I would have airballed it. Maybe I would have hit rim. Maybe it would have gone in.
Yeah.
We'll never know.
No.
But we just know he airballed it.
Yeah.
And no one cared.
Yeah.
So I'm like, why didn't I just take the shot?
Shoot your shot, girl.
Shoot your shot is what I've learned in life. So whether it's in performance or something that I'm not good at.
You also learned that Chance the Rapper's not good at basketball.
Yes, we now know he's not that great.
I like his hats,
Chance,
though.
But we love him, like, obsessed.
I'm obsessed with his, I think, coloring book for the longest time.
I'm like acid rain or acid rap to the fullest. Like, that will forever and always be how I remember Chance.
Let's see if you like Brute Seltzers.
Yeah.
Brute
Seltzers.
Oh,
We're
you hear
taking
that
our
ASMR?
Okay. Actually, side story. So Jason, I've gone through my whole entire life not knowing.
Yeah.
I slurp every sip I take of anything. And I had no clue. And Jason's like, why do you slurp every time? And now I'm so insecure about it because I don't know how to not do it. But I'm like, I can hear myself now. And I never could before.
I mean, the way you not slurp is just you let it go down without like sucking it in. Because like if you slurp, you have like way more liquid going like into your mouth, right?
Maybe I don't want that. Maybe
you do want that, you mean?
Oh.
You want more quickly into your more...
Yeah, maybe.
No?
I don't know.
Why do you like ASMR?
I just think it's so funny.
There's so many people who are interested in it.
So many people, and it's like...
Like my ex-girlfriend would be going to bed with like ASMR videos, like of just like food and whispering and like, oh my God, this feels so good. Blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, what are you doing? Like, you are so weird.
It's really strange when you encounter a person that does it. My boyfriend is a professor and he listens to ASMR at night, and he pulled up his computer in class and it was connected to the big screen.
Oh, stop it.
And his ASMR video came on.
Of what?
Probably makeup.
Okay.
Yeah, putting on makeup.
Why putting on makeup for a grown-ass man?
Okay, so he doesn't like listening to food.
Okay.
And he doesn't like talking.
Yeah.
So it's something like soothing where it's like, I also think maybe, just maybe, men love being catered to. Am I going to lose my guy friends? Like, they love being catered to.
With
so
makeup?
when
I'm
you're
confused.
Not makeup, but in general.
Yeah.
So maybe having a girl, like, do these brushes, and it looks like, I don't know how they do it without getting the lens dirty, but they be really, the brushes be
it's
up
on the
in there.
lens.
Yeah. So all you see on the screen is like, oh my gosh, it's going right on my face. And it does sound really nice, I will say.
Yeah.
But then you're like, gosh, everything sounds kind of nice. Even when people do like unboxing things.
Yeah.
And I cut myself today unboxing, and I'm like, but people are like, look at this today, and I'm like,
I don't get it.
I mean, truthfully, neither.
I don't get it. Like, the only thing that I do understand is like maybe cooking videos, but I don't think that's ASMR. Like the ones that I watch, it's like, it's just so aesthetically pleasing by the cutting, the slicing, the frying, and then like, I don't know, like when someone cuts open like a fried chicken sandwich and you hear that crunch, I'm like, oh, it's so good.
You know, it's ready.
It's ready.
Yeah. I mean, it's not, but it shows you like anything really can be ASMR.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't actually listen to it or like it that much. I just think it's like fun.
Yeah. I think the makeup thing could be pretty big during like in goggles. What are they called?
Oculus.
Oculus. You know, Oculus is killing it. I don't know if they do. My buddy like watches like crazy porn through that shit.
I was going to say it.
I said it for you. And like, it's so crazy to the point that like some people like have like a sex toy, like while they're like watching. I was like, yo, because right now I talked to another friend of this the other day, like men, I think believe between the ages of like 25 and like 38 are having the least amount of sex in today's day and age, like in the last like 30 years, which is crazy to hear.
That is really interesting.
Because the porn industry is just so huge. We have all these sex toys now. You have fucking like people like Kev the other day was talking about how he was communicating with ChatGPT and he felt like she was communicating back to him. And I was like, this is not good.
It's like Her.
It's like Her.
So
Her the movie, guys. We're talking about Her the movie, where basically this man falls in love with his computer.
Which, I mean, now they've created a couple films like that now, because I think that's probably where our life is heading, or it is in general, of just like you're having your phone. But yeah, I mean, the sex toys literally sync up to what you're watching, which is insane. But this is what I was gonna say. Age. So 28 to 35, men are having the least amount of sex, but 28, I think, is when women hit the same libido that men have had previously in their life, which is kind of weird to think about. Like, we're so
girls
unsync.
get horny at 28.
Yeah, we're very unsync when it comes to like our sex drives.
So hit up girls when they're 28 and you should be okay.
Should be pretty good. Yeah.
All right, on that note, so what is gymnastics still a big part of your life right now? Like, I guess when I met you, like you were kind of just like living on the high of just like, wow, I don't know what my life is right now. This is so cool. Like, I'm getting brand deals here and there. I'm asked to go on certain shows. And you don't have like a normal job. Like, you're traveling the world doing like gymnastics meetups and you're doing like content. And I remember you're just like, I'm promoting like tampons today, Nate. And I'm like, sick. Like,
yeah, which actually, I mean, it's been a long time coming. I am a like part-time content creator or creative director for Sequel, a tampon company, and we're still in the FDA process. It's a really long process to go through. What do you mean?
Which tampon company?
Oh, Sequel.
Oh, Sequel. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Sequel is the name.
Shouts out
Sequel. Women owned, women started, girls from Stanford, and super awesome. I'm really excited for it to be launched. Yeah. But so still working on the tampon stuff, still gonna promote it. Yeah. And the rest. Okay, so kind of the first question, going back to that, is like, how have I sort of dealt with now later in life, or like later on in the virality thing, how is it settled? I think it's similar to this question because it's not as, the high is not as high, right?
The high is not as high. What do you mean?
So in 2019 or 2020, I was living off this high where I'm like, yeah, I'm doing this and that and this. And then obviously COVID happened and it died down a lot, which I loved because I'm like, I've never had a break in my life. I've never had a vacation because I've trained since I was 3 years old, full time, pretty much. And it was the first time I really got to sit in my thoughts and be kind of, or create who I wanted to be. And then
because you were just trying to create the gymnastics figure of yourself to be a successful gymnast in that one aspect of your life.
Yeah. And then I think I was really stubborn after, like, I'm done with gymnastics and I'm not a gymnast anymore.
Yeah, I feel like you would say that a lot. You're like, I'm over it. I'm not that person anymore.
Yeah, and I think maybe probably not the best move business wise. And so I've kind of started accepting more, now that it's too late, you know. You know how it goes. That like gymnastics has made me who I am today and was like a massive part of my life. So I actually started watching, I watched the competition this past weekend. Championships just happened. Simone came back, had a huge killing.
Let's go.
We loved watching it and seeing it.
Just went to her wedding too. Let's go.
And so it was, I feel like I've accepted more of like, gymnastics isn't who I am now, but is always going to be like why I am the way I am. Yeah. And so something that I've been working on, which you know about, is my leotard company. Yeah. I am a person that loves clothes. I love fashion. I love design. And I wanted to mix kind of two things of my life, whereas like, okay.
Why do you love fashion? Why do you love design? What does it do for you?
It's a form of expression. And for the longest time, or we know trends, right? Like we're kind of, whether we want to be or not, we are just a part of the system and we get absorbed by trends. And it's just funny to watch like the waves that it goes in. And I think it's a form of expression, clothes, to maybe not look like the same person next to you or to be able to stand out in whatever way or however you're feeling that day.
What would you describe your style to be?
Like I know eclectic's pretty like open out there. So I would say eclectic, or like maybe it's too broad of a word, but I think eclectic because I can rock the like super girly girl or super boyish or whatever I am.
Keep people on their toes.
Exactly. And I love colors. Like I'm not really a super all black thing, but it's super classy. So I'm kind of, I think I wanted to be super loud, but now I'm starting to fall back into whatever space.
When I was in middle school, I was a big like color guy. Like I'd wear like yellow shirts and this and that, but I didn't know I was colorblind at the time. So I'm red-green deficiency, meaning like some dark greens look like browns and some like dark yellows look like greens, stuff like that. And what I thought looked cool, just like no colors matched. Like I would wear brown with like a pink or something because I thought it was like red and green, you know? And that's why like I wear like solid tones, mostly black and stuff, because I'm just like, I don't know if this matches actually.
But now is the perfect time to do it because no one matches and it's super awesome. Like
no one matches? I feel like everyone matches.
No, I feel like...
Okay, let's define matching. What does matching mean to you?
Matching is like color coordinated and patterns like not clashing, whereas I feel like 2023 fashion is all about clashing all the patterns, all the different colors, and just like if you can have confidence in it, you'll fool anyone. Like you're rocking the hardest fit ever.
I don't understand some of like, I guess not necessarily it's not even yours. It's like, because some of the friends that you have that I'm not friends with, I will be like, what are they wearing? Like, I don't get it.
I wonder who.
We'll talk about it later. But it's just like, sometimes I don't get fashion because like, for me, I'm such a practicality person.
Yeah.
Like, I wear the things I wear because they either feel good, I like the material, and like I could use them with a lot of fits. For example, like you have some wild ass shoes. and I've seen some wild ass shoes.
I actually
that
brought a wild pair of shoes today.
Yes, you have some wild ass shoes, guys. Kate has a lot of wild ass shoes. And I'm just like, you can only wear those like once a month. Like, I'm the type of dude, like, if I'm gonna buy shoes, I better use that shit like once a week. But also, Kate has enough shoes for like one every day of the year. So
This is true.
like, how do you keep track of that shit?
I know you're always like, you could get anything stolen, you wouldn't know. But the truth is, I would. I keep really good track on my stuff. I would.
You.
If I lose something, I'm like, I know exactly what piece it is.
Yeah.
And yeah, maybe I won't know. If someone were to steal from me like day of, chances are you're right. I won't notice. But one day I'm going to be looking for it and I'm going to be like, where is it? And now that I've moved, my life is kind of like a cluster of, I don't know. But I know that I'm missing a dress and a pair of heels.
Is it missing or you just don't know where it is because you got too many?
Okay, well, this is the thing. I did bring it to Brian's place, and I'm like, what girl stole my dress
Where'd you
and
fucking
heels?
go?
Where'd it go? No, but yeah, we were going to just...
I don't think I've ever asked you this before. I'm curious. What was like the big first like payday from gymnastics?
First payday?
Like, was it before 2019? Like, was it in college? Because recently was you're allowed to get signed as a college athlete now, like by brands. And when you were there, that was not the case, correct?
Not the case.
Not the case.
Yeah. So NIL started in 2020. No, 2021. That summer. So I missed it by 2 years, which, you know, I'm actually okay with because I feel like
everything happened.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like
it was great.
I'm actually really happy about everything, and I didn't get to sign with anyone or start having those conversations until not till I graduated, but actually the last day of competition. So once competitions finished in April, the end of April, I got to start talking or having these conversations with companies.
What was the first one?
I actually have no clue, but I will tell you a story instead.
Tell me the story instead.
So it wasn't a company. This is super important to hear because I remember being hit up after college and I had been retired now. So sorry.
Rewind, guys.
Taking a week off of gymnastics is hard enough, but taking like months at a time seems like impossible.
What do you mean hard enough?
I remember being like 15, 16 and having a day off on Sunday, coming back to the gym and feeling like I couldn't do anything the next day.
Because it's just like too much time off.
Yeah. So, and during those days, it was like, I gained half a pound. I can't do gymnastics anymore. Yeah. Well, so times that by like 6 days, or 7 days, it's a week. And you're like, oh my gosh, I really can't do anything. So then times that by months, which by the time I got to college, I was really good at like being mental training and not really training that much because my body was absolutely trashed. So I had now been retired for May, June, July, August, 4 months, and we got hit up to do this competition in Albany, New York. Okay. And it was supposed to be a super big woman empowerment competition where it was 8 different...
Like for funsies or actual competition?
I guess more so for fun. And we had different countries come in and we had teams and it was 8 different sports, all women's. And we were going to get paid and we were going to like do all these, a lot of marketing for us. And so I was super hyped on it. I'm like, yes, I'll come back to gymnastics for this event. Granted, I didn't do too much training in advance. But it all worked out because the equipment ended up being so bad. And we actually, fast forward 2019 to 2023,
the equipment was so bad?
The equipment was really bad. And we're in New York, like where it was super humid and we were on top of an ice rink. And so the water was like coming up through the equipment. So the floor, if you stepped with socks, you could feel how wet it was. The beams were soaked and people like were wiping out left and right. It was actually a really dangerous event. Oh, for sure. And I remember us getting there and the floors were like rock solid and we're like, we can't double flip on this. Like this is dangerous. This is scary. And so luckily we got to water down our passes. But anyways, we were supposed to get 50% of our cut, which
50% of your cut.
For what we were like gonna make. Yeah.
Even though it didn't go.
No, we did. We competed.
Okay.
So we were
Why
like,
did you only get 50%
at the event,
then?
we were supposed to get 50% beforehand and 50% afterwards.
got it.
So none of us got 50% in advance. And we talked to someone like, if this doesn't happen before we step on the floor, we're walking.
Yeah.
But as a lot of you guys probably know, like a lot of like people came to watch us and then we felt bad about it. And so then we're like, we still haven't got 50%. So, but we're still going to put on this show because people signed up to watch. And we did it. And 4 years later, we still have not seen money.
From the whole thing.
So we put our lives on the line, our bodies on the line for nothing. And I remember, so this was like literally $4,000 out of college. And I'm like not making any money. And I'm like, $4,000. I'm like, yes, I need this type of thing. And we didn't get it.
Yeah.
So I was just like, that's so crazy to think that. So I think that's like the big story or the big picture story of that story is women still are not getting the like equity
that they deserve
or recognition or and notoriety. I don't know, like no one publicized that we haven't been paid yet. And it's been 4 years and maybe like one person came out about it, but seriously, no one in the entire event, like judges came, commentators came, and like people came out of their way. We had Jackie Jordan Kersey there.
I don't know who that is.
She's all-time like super big track star. We had like Nadia Comaneci, the first 10-0 person like gymnast as a judge, and like
that was a big event.
Yeah. Judge Aquilina, who fought for all of the gymnasts during Larry Nassar trials. Yeah. No one was compensated for their work. So it's just kind of weird. Also, like, forget about us. We had people from Ukraine that actually needed the money really badly, and they flew all the way to New York for this event and didn't get paid either. So it was a really sad event. And here, like, I actually wrote an email like, hi, you know, I was promised these certain things when I decided to do this event that I was super excited about. And your side of the contract was not withheld. And he was just like, I told you it was going to be a women's event. And I did that. And I'm like, are we going to just totally like
disregard the money part, dude?
So it was just interesting, and it just made me think.
System's still fucked up.
But it made me smarter at moving forward.
As like a business lady.
Yeah, in life where it's like, okay, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Yeah. So now I like try to be really smart about what I take and what I like do to make money.
So I guess that was like one of your first experiences. Do you not remember any of like the first big, I guess, like, oh shit, I could be an influencer, make money on the internet, or like because I have these skills or have this like momentum from college?
No, I definitely remember like the biggest paycheck I got, and it was so insane.
What was it for?
It was for a Toyota commercial.
I remember. It was the flipping through the cars and shit.
Yeah, and it honestly...
It's a dope commercial. Go check it out, guys.
It was the best thing ever. We went to South Africa for like 10 days, and I'm in the streets. Yeah. So they like rented out the whole entire street in South Africa. I'm like flipping around these cars. The poor people the extras were in their cars for probably 12 hours that day and just working. I remember chatting with people in their cars like, oh, what are you doing? Yeah. Guys working on bracelets and doing whatever they can to stay safe.
How did that feel to be the center of attention in South Africa with like a whole street rented out for like you being the center of attention for this Toyota commercial?
It was insane. And I remember being on such a high where everyone was like my best friend. I had a driver, and I got to go like wherever I wanted, pretty much do whatever I wanted.
In South
Granted,
Africa.
I didn't have enough time because I was either prepping. We had 14-hour days, whereas like I'm up at 4 a.m. Filming until
whenever.
7 p.m. And so it was really long work days, but I created a whole bond with everyone on set. And I remember the creative director was like a father figure to me, and I was really struggling one day. So there was a rig that I got set up in where I had to fly in the air, and it took 10 minutes to reset every single time.
Wow.
And I just flip, and I wouldn't know where I was. Actually, I had like a double.
What do you mean you didn't know where you were?
Like, I mean, I am probably, let's say like 20 stories up in the air.
Oh, fuck.
And so I'm like, you just flip as much as you can. And it was totally different than gymnastics flipping, whereas like you drive your heels. But for this, I had to relearn pretty much everything I knew previously. So it took a lot to get confident in and understand. And so I remember you lose sun. And like you can't get sun back, and we can't like go over. We don't have the same street the next day, so I have to figure this out in a certain amount of time, but minus the 10 minutes every single time to rig,
which is a long time.
And so you're like, oh my gosh, we're losing sun. We have to figure this out, and I couldn't do it for the life of me. And I just sitting there like freaking out, and he came over to me, and he was just like, "You're doing amazing." And I just looked at him, just started bawling. And I'm like, I never get told that. And we had a really big heart-to-heart. And I remember the last day, you could have thought like someone died because I was crying with every single person that was on set. Like, just like, you guys are really family. And just to be
so cute.
just to be on that high around that many people and like that. I mean, it was actually really 10 days really isn't that long, but it feels like a long time when you're that like
over there
excited.
For sure. Also, like when you're just in a foreign country doing things.
Yeah. So it was a really cool experience, and I'm really glad I got that opportunity. It was between me and Sonic the Hedgehog.
Let's go.
And so I'm like, yes.
And you won?
Yeah, I guess so.
When you say that you didn't get told that a lot, that you're doing amazing, why didn't you get told that a lot, even though you're really good at what you were doing in gymnastics?
Because I think when you're an athlete, you're always told someone's better than you, someone's working harder than you, someone's gonna like coming right up after you. So you can never settle in you're doing good. Like you always have to do better, be better. Yeah. So I think
that's a good mentality to have.
Yes and no, right? I think there's like a beauty to it where you're never or not that you're never happy, but you always feel like you're working towards something or can work towards something. But there's also like the downside where you feel like you're not good enough. Yeah. And
well, you're really open about like all your struggles in gymnastics, about like people would make fun of your weight, or coaches would make fun of your weight, or just like the mental struggles, or the doctor, whatever, the sexual assaults with was it just UCLA or was it multiple?
Oh no,
I don't know too much about it.
Yeah, whole national team, like 500 plus girls.
Yeah, like
plus Michigan State.
That's crazy, you know, and them being relatively traumatic because objectively you're a young girl who's good at flipping on a floor or on a beam or twirling in the air, but like there's so much more to that in the background.
Yeah, it is super weird because I think something that we fail to see with gymnast is that we are really impressionable growing at that young of age where we peak probably when we're 16 years old, if we're lucky, if we make it that far. Yeah. So imagine being told that from the time you're like 13 where you're not good enough and you constantly hear it and you constantly believe it. Yeah. And you don't also have, you haven't developed enough to form your own opinion, speak up for yourself, and then on top of that, your voice is also stifled. So I think being there or like going through that has actually left some, I don't know, like residue.
Good or bad.
Yeah, good or bad. Which, I mean, there's beauty and there's, darkness within that. But I would say one of the biggest things that I've recognized is, I hate saying it because I think everyone goes through it, right? Like there is always a person, or I feel like everyone has that insecurity of not being good enough, whether you are an athlete, whether you are a person just told that by your parents or family or whoever, someone that was in your life close enough. So I could have not been a gymnast and experienced the same type of feelings and be the same and have the same insecurities. But yeah, I would say that's like the biggest thing. It made a really big impact on my life in terms of dating life, relationship life, because my dad lived in a different state during this time. I spent 36 hours plus whatever travel we were doing with my coach, who seemed like a father figure to me, but also incredibly abusive. So you start getting in your head, like, this is how a man's supposed to treat me. This is how I'm supposed to feel in a relationship. This is, you almost start thinking you deserve everything you're given. And I remember the first person I dated happened to be that like abusive and like hard feeling in my stomach. And you have to learn to like, you don't own other people's words, right? So yeah, it's taken
me. You don't own other people's words.
What people tell you you are, you don't own that. Like you don't.
You're not necessarily what people tell you.
Yeah.
Yeah. You are what you believe you are.
Exactly.
Or you are the things that you do and act.
You don't have to carry that weight.
Yeah.
You don't have to carry their opinions of you.
How does someone learn that? How does someone learn not to accept the words that other people put on you?
I know this is really stupid, but you just have to. You know, like, yeah, you could go to therapy, you can run it out, you can like write affirmations on the wall and stuff like that. And like, yeah, maybe that's all part of the process, but at some point you just have to like just look at yourself and do it. Yeah. Like,
that's not who I am. I am who I say I am.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I don't know, like, Brian always talks a lot of shit on therapists and stuff like that. And like,
well, I have a hard time with therapy too. Like the idea of therapy is great in my opinion, but also therapists are humans, right? Therapists are people who have their own problems and thoughts and this and that. And sometimes I think it could be hard to completely disassociate who they are and their own feelings from like the work that they do, unless they are like really healthy in their own mind.
Yeah, but who is really healthy in their own mind? I was thinking about that. Like, we're in this constant journey where you start out whole as a human when you're like a baby.
Whole or innocent, or like, I feel like you're just an open canvas.
Okay, open canvas, unpenetrated, like your purest form. Yeah. And then you get these little ticks and whatever, and you spend your whole life trying to erase them or figure out like how to love every part of them. And then you die. And I feel like the closest you get to it is in those final moments where you're like, oh, okay, I finally accepted it. So someone that is like teaching therapy or whatever, a therapist is probably not on their deathbed. So they're probably not there. It's like a full cycle. Yeah.
It's a hard thing to like just get through your head, because I feel like there are some people everyone is insecure to some extent. When you agree?
100%.
But there's a lot of people who just don't let those insecurities like affect them.
Yeah. It's kind of the same thing I say about fear, right? Like, it's okay to be afraid.
It's okay to be nervous.
But don't live by fear.
Don't live in it.
Yeah.
Because like if you live in it, you're just stuck there, you know?
Yes. 100%. So
what has gymnastics taught you?
Everything. It's told me not to live life 50%, because if you go 50% on something,
you're gonna hurt yourself.
Yeah. So
how did you get so good? Because for a huge part of it, you hated it. And it's weird because I don't think you could hate something and get good at it.
I think you can, depending on like who's around you, right? I think now maybe in this day and age, because everyone's like, oh, do what makes you happy, which I preach constantly. Is like, do what makes you happy, but that doesn't mean you're going to be happy 100% of that, right? Like if you love something, you're not going to be like, every single day, I can't wait to go to the gym, or I can't wait to go to work, but it doesn't mean you hate it. So anyways, I think for a certain period of time, I'm like, I hate gymnastics, but I really just hated my environment. So I loved the sport, but I hated everything that it came with. I mean, like you said, I love performing. I love competition. I remember when I was like 4 years old, my mom's like, well,
when you were 4, you remember this?
Or maybe 5.
Okay.
My mom's like, if you move up levels, you won't be able to compete. And I just looked at her, why would I want that if I can't compete? That's the beauty of the sport, is competing. So, like, I'll stay in the same level, you know? So, anyways, I think that you can progress in something that you maybe don't love, but if you aren't 100% in it, something will take you out. And so I made it as far as I did because of pressures and, you know, being pushed to that degree, and also having that drive in myself. But I was also taken out because I hated it, or felt like I hated it. Yeah. So it's like a mental burnout that caused a physical burnout. Yeah. So whether it's injury that takes you out or something,
What's the life of a gymnast like, for the people who are listening out there who don't know what gymnastics are? Like, because for me, I didn't really know much about gymnastics until I started hanging out with you and all your gymnastics friends. And like, I was like, oh, sick, they just do flips in this, like, whatever. I'm not like Jason. I'm not a huge fangirl about, like, he knows every single routine that you did. He knows the dates. He knows the times.
He knows more skill names than I do. I'm sitting here like, what skill is that? What?
I don't get it. I don't understand his obsession with it. It's very impressive though. Shouts out Jason, we love you. But back to
what is the gymnast life like?
Yeah, what is the gymnast life like? The day-to-day, from when you were 3 years old until you competed throughout the time and you were traveling. Like, what's the day-to-day like?
Well, I remember starting to leave school early, which was a big issue because I went to Catholic school and I would miss prayer time. So they're just like,
let's go prayer time.
Yeah, they didn't really love that. And I remember going to school in my leotard under my uniform, and you could see it like poking out outside of the button down. Anyways, so.
Was that bad?
I don't know. It's just like funny. Like, here I am in my uniform, just have like a bright purple leotard underneath. Okay. Like, can't wait to get to gym after this. Yeah. And I would eat dinner on the way home because we commute like an hour to gym, and I wouldn't. It would be like 8 p.m. by the time I got done. So I'd eat dinner on the way home, get as much schoolwork as I could for the next day to start all over. And then when I was 9, we had to move. So I picked up everything,
And you moved because of gymnastics?
Moved because of gymnastics. Yeah, there were no like elite gyms during that time in Seattle where I was training. So we moved to Missouri, and that's when I started going to school like part-time or half-time. And I'd go to gym pretty early in the day. I'd be that, everyone's like, you're that girl that leaves early. That's what I was known for, because I didn't talk to anybody. Yeah. And then...
You didn't talk to anybody?
Oh, so shy. I reinvented myself in college.
Yeah, it's funny because like I would never see you that way.
Yeah, it's like pretty awkward, and and also moving didn't help, right? Like everyone has their solidified groups, and I'm like,
you're just a
new kid, yeah. So we only stayed there 3 years, and by this time I'm 12, and I started homeschool. So gym was like full time. I would wake up. I'd have to be at gym by like 7:45. We'd train until noon, rush home, eat food, have like maybe 2 hours to do homework, which was all online, and then run back to the gym for 3 o'clock training.
Do you think
7.
you learned much in school?
Everyone asks me, like, what's your biggest regret? And I think everyone expects me to say going elite or something like that, which I've come to the...
elite meaning like Olympics, right?
Yeah. Elite is like Olympic pass. So you're on the national team and,
Which you could have been.
Yeah, just injuries. But so anyways, I think people expect me to say that, but the one thing that I really regret is being homeschooled because I didn't learn anything for those 4 years. Yeah. And then I went to college and I was just sitting there so lost in one, not even just like academically, but also socially. We develop our social skills when we're 12 through 16. I think those are our biggest developing ages. And I missed out on all of that because I only interacted with people that were also homeschooled in Gymnast. Yeah. So we had one thing to talk about and like...
Well, I would say you were like relatively good with people, and I would say you're pretty good at articulating yourself in the way that you think and what's in your head, I feel like you say properly. And your poetry is really beautiful, and it has a message that resonates with a lot of people most of the time. You said a speech in front of all of UCLA. I feel like you're doing a good job.
Thank you.
But I guess, like, how did you get to that point? Because, like, I couldn't imagine not going through the schooling system that I did and taking the classes and reading the books and just meeting new friends and talking to girls and guys and having problems in school all the way from kindergarten through college.
I mean, you have to be okay with failing. Like, I know some people that cry when they get like a B or C, and like C's were like so awesome to me. I remember
Kate's like the definition of C's to get degrees.
Yeah, I'm just like, and I remember my coach Valerie, Miss Val.
Shouts out Miss Val.
She's the real deal.
Yeah.
Anyways, she would always be like, you know what, I'm actually so happy that you got to experience life instead of being head in the books and only focusing on academics and not getting that full experience, and you still passed, you know? So anyways, I remember writing my first essay, and I had never written an essay before. And I'm like, okay.
In college?
This was actually my junior year, because I got injured and I got to actually go to high school my last 2 years.
You were so excited, probably.
Oh, terrified as well, though.
Yeah.
Like, excited, but like so scary. And so I'm like, English is easy for me. I'll do honors.
Oh, honors English was tough.
Yep. So I get to my first thing. I'm like, okay, write an essay. And I wrote an essay, turned it in. 50. I got a 50. And I sat there. I'm like, what? But the whole time even writing, I'm like, I don't even know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
So she's like, okay, not everyone did really good on this. We're going to go through a little bit and then we'll let you retry again. So I rewrite it. I'm like, this is the sickest essay ever. Another 50. I'm like, what? So anyways, needless to say, I dropped down to regs. I learned how to write an essay somewhat.
Yeah.
But really, like, 2 pages, then you go to college, you're like, write 30 pages, and you're like, okay.
I sucked at research papers.
Oh, don't even. What is your research paper? Because I had to. Okay, and for those that don't know, UCLA, you pretty much had to. You had to apply for every major.
Yeah.
And so I applied for a major and had to write a research paper. I probably did not get accepted because of the research paper. Like, I was thinking, what the heck?
But also, like, the research papers are so dumb in the sense of there's so many rules that you need to have of just, like, the format.
Yes.
Like, not actually the substance in it. It's like, I remember it has to be double spaced every single time.
Every time.
The way that the resources or where your source lists in the back, the format it's supposed to be in a certain way, and you would get docked points if the websites that you sourced was not in a correct format. And I'm just like, this doesn't make sense, you know? But
I actually don't.
Oh, okay. So I used to train a physics professor at UCLA, and what he did for a living most of the time was do the research and write research papers of his own research. And I was like, dang, they're priming us all to be physics professors out here.
Well, also, don't you love teachers that are like, tell me about my book that I wrote?
Yeah,
it's like,
just like,
come on.
I don't care about this subject.
Yeah.
But how did you get into writing poetry? Because, like, I used to write a lot of poetry, and I feel like it's a big part of your life, and you articulate your thoughts and your emotions and your stories through it. It's like your outlet to life.
Shout out to Regs English.
Regs English?
Yeah,
Okay.
because when I dropped back down, we spent a portion of it focusing on poetry. And I remember this is the time I got injured. Gymnastics was like out of the picture and my emotions are incredibly high. And I remember sitting there just busting out poems and like vomiting up my feelings.
Yeah.
And being like, oh, I'm actually kind of good at this. And it was the first.
But you thought you were good at essays too, though.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Well, that was not the case.
Yeah.
So this one actually felt like it was. And it was the first time where I looked or I realized I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm not just a gymnast, or like that's not the only thing I'm good at and the only thing I can do. Because I was also told, oh, if you don't succeed in gymnastics, all you'll be able to do is flip burgers for the rest of your life.
What?
Yeah, like you'll work at McDonald's is what he was telling me.
Who told you that?
My coach. So I remember, like, you know,
These coaches are wildin', man.
Yeah, I'm like not even 16. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm only gonna work at McDonald's. And to be honest, a lot of people that were at my like level didn't go to college, and so that's what I was used to, is like probably looking forward to that type of lifestyle. So I don't know. I wrote these poems and was like, dang, this is something I could actually really get into. And then I forgot about it, of course, after high school. And I went to college. I'm like, oh, friends, boys. And then I was in a class, my favorite class of all time, World Arts and Cultures 1, WAC 1.
Shouts out WAC 1.
Yeah, we got to take off our shoes and sit down and socialize.
Yeah, taking off your shoes is a vibe. When I went to Japan and you'd go into a restaurant, they're like, please take off your shoes. And I was like, say less. Let's go.
And now I'm like, do not put your nasty ass shoes on my carpet. Like, we walk on filth all day.
All day.
Ugh. Okay. So, anyways, a girl performed her poem, and I was sitting there.
In WAC 1.
In WAC 1. And I was like,
what was it about?
I couldn't even tell you what it was about, but I could tell you.
The way it made you feel?
The way it made me feel. Yeah, I was honestly sitting there in shock, like, this girl is so good. And then sitting there like, I was good too. Yeah. And I'm like, I can do this. And I went home immediately and just wrote such a good poem that night. And I've been proud of it for this whole time, or like since then, which was in 2017 or 16.
What's your proudest poem?
Okay, well, that maybe not be my proudest, but I would say like, ooh, I wrote a 10-minute piece, and it took so much out of me. I couldn't write for like a couple months. Okay. So I was just so like out of it.
Do you get into like flow states where like you'll just keep writing for hours?
I'm not like that determined. If it comes to me, it's like when a piece is there, it's there, and it'll take like 10 minutes to write. Okay. Whereas, like, if you try to push a poem past its limit, you can tell it's dead. You're just like, this could have ended like... It's kind of like a self-help book, in my opinion. This could have been done by page 10. Yeah. I get it. We got the lesson.
Yeah, we understand the story, guys. We get... Yeah, I look back at a lot of self-help books that I read now. I was like... Did I really read that many? They all say the same thing.
All the same thing. You're like, this is just common sense at some point. Someone's making so much money off this.
You're right, but the thing is, like, each of them made it more common sense as I read it, though. Like, at the time, it wasn't common sense because I didn't know. And then after I figured out that one lesson from that book...
Did you learn it from the book or did you learn it from life?
Pretty sure from the book made me realize the lesson in life.
Okay.
Yeah, because like maybe I've kind of gone through experience, but I didn't understand the lesson at that point. Maybe the self-help book would have taught me the interpretation of it. Yeah. You know?
I'm like the type of person that needs to live it. It's like your mom being like, don't do this, don't do this.
And then you fuck up and you're like, God, she was right.
Dang it.
Damn it, Mama.
Moms always know.
Do you have any poems memorized?
I mean, it's been a while, but that first poem that I ever wrote was like a piece that I have.
Can you say a few lines?
Memorized.
You don't need to.
I mean, yeah, like you can start it. Unconscious, awake, stranger, or friend. These are the stories we must defend. Far too often we make excuses for these offenders, but anytime you force sexual activity, you are a contender.
Ooh, so deep.
Was it what I wore? Was I asking for that attention? They'll think I'm a whore and there was no discretion.
Poetry's so beautiful because it's similar to music, right? But the thing is, the rhythm is in the words, not in the song.
Yeah, the beats.
You know?
Yeah. I mean, it is essentially, right? Like, I've had a lot of people be like, you could write music type of thing. But it is really different. Like, if I were to try to sit down and... I mean, I did write a rap one time. But It's like when I listen to a song, I know a lot of people that listen to the beat, and I used to always listen to the words, but sometimes it's really hard to hear the words, whereas when you're a cappella, it's like, that's all you can hear, that's all you can focus on.
I resonate a lot with like lyrical music, and there's a lot of people who just like love beats. That's EDM, right? That's the EDM beats of the world, and I just don't understand it sometimes. But then one time I went to like a EDM concert, and
you were rolling, huh?
I wasn't. I still haven't. Never have. But the vibrations and sounds, like that's why like sound healing is a thing. Like all these vibrations go through your body, and it's not necessarily the beat of the music. Like, yeah, it sounds cool, but there's a certain way that it makes your body feel at a certain vibration, these beats.
Okay, that's why music's so important, because I mean we are water.
Yeah.
Right? So of course vibrations affect us.
Yeah.
And I think even can chemically like rearrange.
Yeah, I mean I don't know the science behind it, but I have friends who are obsessed with sound healing. And I'm just like, you're just listening to shit? But then again, we are water. Most of our body is water. And if you look at a ripple by a sound on a fucking bowl, like that has to be doing something to us physically.
100%.
Yeah.
I mean, it is, whether it's beats, whether it's words, like we absorb way more than we think maybe consciously of. And our body does something wild. I didn't like music until I did shrooms. In 2019. 2019. I was one of those people that was like, I like music, kind of, but I didn't understand people that loved music.
That's so funny because you love music.
I love music. And it was the first time I was laying there and I'm like, I am every beat of this. Like, I don't even just hear it. Like, I was that. And, yeah, and ever since then, I've loved music, and I've realized what it can do for me.
What does it do for you?
I mean, it changes moods, like that. Like, if I'm listening to super sad music, I'm kind of going to be in, like, a sad, like, mood.
Do you think it's healthy when you're sad to listen to sad music?
I think sometimes, like, I think all different music is healthy, and to a degree. Okay, this is something our coach used to tell us, is like, give yourself a pity party for a certain amount of time. I love sappy, sad music. And sometimes when you're just like in your feels, it's nice to have something else that relates to you. And you can give yourself that, like, let me just listen to this for an hour and be sad and feel what I want to feel.
And resonate with it.
And sit with it.
Yeah, something that music does do for you or me or just like people in general, it makes you know that you're not alone. Like, this other person made this song and articulated the feelings that you currently have, and that's why you resonate with it.
Yeah.
And we're like, oh, I'm not alone. Like, other people feel this way, and I'm just gonna chill with this music because they understand me.
They get it.
They fucking get it.
And they did it in such a nice way.
Yeah,
like, it sounds so nice.
How's life after gymnastics? There's a lot of people, I guess, I talk about this a lot. It's not even, I guess you're less removed for it than I was. I tried to be a professional golfer for a long time. And for me, for the longest time, I would wake up, go hit golf balls, go to school, go hit golf balls until the sun went down every day. And that's who I identified as. Like, how good I was at golf was how good I was as a person, and mine kind of ended like freshman year of college. And I like developed and like kind of got out of that way within the next couple years. But you like did gymnastics all the way throughout college. And I guess like how did you have that experience, one? And two, if you did you get out of it?
Yeah, so I think being injured when I was younger, like 16, and realizing that I like poetry and whatever other things, it made me realize like it kind of helped cushion the blow when it was legit over. And but I still go in waves, right? Where I'm like, I'm fine without it. And then there's days where I'm like, it's hard actually to realize that, I mean, going I feel like I brought this back, the first question, so many times now, but it's like when you realize like, oh, I'm not making as much money as I was, or I'm not as in the spotlight as I was, you have to go through this whole entire mind shift where you're like, okay, what's next? Is it okay if it's not like virality? Is it okay to live my life how I want it to be? Because like I feel really comfortable with what I'm doing and I love what I'm doing, but then there's those days where I'm like, oh, I wish I got that sponsorship deal, or oh, I wish I was still in the limelight like all these girls that I'm watching every day. And it's definitely interesting to like shift into my new
reality.
Yeah. So it isn't about like, it's not about being a influencer. It's not about being a gymnast.
It's just being who you are. What you want to be.
Yeah. And
why do you like pushing the boundaries to that?
Why?
Because like, I guess with looks and stuff too, like you got all these piercings when you went out, you grew out like your armpit hair, and you did all these other like crazy things that are just like to society might seem like, what the heck is she doing? But like, is it because you want to do it, or is it because that you wanted to be the person who rebels against what other people think you should be?
I think I still actually am in like this conflict in my mind with like, why do I do this, or why am I doing this? And like, God, this is like something that I always feel is like, God, do I have substance? I always have to ask myself like, what is it to me? Or like, is there something to me? And then I'm like, oh, but like, I love decorating and I love like clothes and stuff like that. But I'm like,
is that substance?
Is that yeah? Like, is there more? And so I don't know. Like, yeah, I have this whole thing in my head where who knows? Maybe it was my Miley Cyrus phase, and then I realized like, oh my gosh, yeah. Why did I do all that? Was it to get out of that box? Remember how I said I was really hard-headed after gymnastics? I'm not a gymnast. I'm this, and people hated it. Like,
Miss Val was so mad at you. She was like, Katelyn, you gotta take those piercings out.
Hate my piercings, hate my hair, hate my armpit hair. And that is more of like a woman thing. Yeah. Like, okay, fighting the fight for women and having body hair. Okay. And even to this, so actually now, I did the armpit hair thing for like a couple years, and I still don't really shave regularly. I shave when I'm like, oh, I want to look pretty for like
a wedding.
Yeah. So I'll like shave my armpit hair maybe once every other month. You know how
people on social media have been doing like their characters, like a video characters, and they're just like shaking back and forth. Like, yours would be so wild. Like, you do the gymnastics with the perm, and then you got like your baggy like cut off with like armpit hair, and then you would
my mullet.
Yo, it was so funny because I stayed at Katelyn's place in Seattle the day before she cut her hair into a mullet. And her mom did it, and I was like, yeah, let me know how it goes. The second after it happened, Katelyn called me, and you were crying. You were like, this is a mess. This is horrible. So she wants to go get it like professionally done by this person, and they kind of saved it. And then the next day she posted like the Miley Cyrus like split video on her TikTok. You guys go look at it, and it's a total vibe, but it was just an emotional roller coaster. I'm like,
my mom's sitting there cutting my hair like, I can't believe you're making me do this. I can't do this. And I'm sitting there like, don't say that. Like, you're doing it already. I was freaking out. And I remember like,
your hair's long now.
Honestly, it was so bad when she got it. And thank God the guy fixed it. But yeah, I'm going through I'm going to do the long hair phase. So this is another thing with the armpits. I'm like, it looked dope with the mullet. And so it's kind of like a whole thing. Like, I had short hair, armpit hair, and now I'm like, I have long hair and I'm like a girly girl. Do I still have hairy armpits? So I do the like when I feel like it. Yeah. And I think that's how life should be, is like, I'm not doing it because I have, or like society says I have to once a week or every other day. I'm doing it because I'm like, oh, like maybe it's time. Like, I would still maybe like trim. So what's the difference between me like trimming or shaving? It's all the same effort. I am just not a super big person on maintenance. I like hate having to re-dye my hair all the time, which is crazy because I always re-dye my hair, but I let that grow out forever.
I don't know. Like, maintenance for me is like I enjoy it. Like, I don't like when I have like a hairy neck. Like, it gets itchy, you know? Or like, I don't know, like ass hair. Like, that's disgusting. Like, why would I have so much? Like, I gotta trim that shit.
Okay, you know what's super crazy? So Asians, have like long hairs just in random places.
Yeah.
And apparently I have long hair on my butt.
Okay.
And I'm like, are you kidding me? I have like a random patch on the back of my legs too that I would never know. Yeah. Because I don't pay
Everyone's
attention.
going to be asking for your OnlyFans after this. They're
like, you want to see long Asian hair on my butt? Like, so weird.
How did you deal with, you had this rare skin disease for a while, right?
I still do.
What's it called?
Granuloma annulare.
Granuloma annulare.
Yeah.
Okay. How did that affect you?
Okay.
Not from like a physical standpoint where like obviously it sucks and shit and like it's itchy and you have to put ointment on it and you're like, my body is like deteriorating, like what the fuck do I do? But from a society standpoint of like, I don't want to be seen like this. Like, what did it do for you mentally? What, not for you, it could be for you, but what did it do to you mentally?
Okay, I remember like photoshopping my first photo my freshman year of college because we were in...
Can you explain what granuloma
annulare? It's like discoloration of the skin where like there's vitiligo that makes you lighter. This one's darker. And the first one I ever got was like a hard, shiny, dark spot.
On your arm.
On my arm. And so
the
kind
big
of...
one, right?
Yeah, kind of like vitiligo. It all started on my left side, and then it just, I went to the doctor, got it biopsied. They're like, it's going to go away in 3 years. They call it an autoimmune disease because I don't think they know any other way to define it. Yeah. So it's going to go away in 3 years. Well, fast forward, it's still there, and I have so many other spots, which, I've learned to live with, and I actually think it's super cool now. I'm like, yeah, I think it's awesome. It's different. Yeah. It's... whatever. I don't even realize I have it until someone looks at me and they're like, what is that? Are you abused? I get that asked that a lot.
It looks like a bruise.
And then you're like, I almost think it's funny to make the joke like, oh, like, please don't turn them in. But then then you realize it's like so inappropriate. So
it's not. It's like Melissa's
death in my left ear. Like, no, not really.
Our friend Melissa was on America's Got Talent.
No, so you think it was World of Dance.
Oh, it was World of Dance.
Yeah.
Yeah, and she made a joke about like, oh, sorry, I just couldn't hear. I'm deaf in my right ear, and they're like, oh, I'm so sorry. She was like, I'm kidding. Yeah. Like, you can't joke about that shit.
Yeah, now it would be different. It's kind of like the 2010 thing. You get away with it at some point, not anymore.
Why do you think the world has just like moved so quickly into the victim mentality like that?
We're constantly on a pendulum where it's like, oh, like we don't think about it. Now we think about it extra, and everyone's so focused on being woke. And you, even if you don't believe it, you say it because that's what everyone else expects you to say. So I think everyone's kind of in this whole like tiptoeing on eggshells to where we're too afraid to speak our mind. But some people believe it, some people don't. I just think we're trying to be so mindful and conscious, which is not a bad thing, right? Like, I think it's actually good because it raises awareness in whatever type of way you want eventually.
Yeah. But also I feel like it makes people afraid to speak their true feelings.
Yeah. Are you kidding? Like, you can't even have conversations anymore, and social media is a perfect example of that, right? Yeah. Someone speaks their mind and you just block them. Yeah. Oh, we can't talk about this because you don't see the way that I see things. Whereas like if we did speak and communicate about things, maybe we could find a middle ground, like in politics or anything. So like, but we just don't hold platforms or like conversations without, we're scared of being canceled. We're scared of not being accepted.
Yeah. Also assumptions of things too, right? So there's like some people who, we'll just use politics, for example. Like just because I have friends who like, they had another friend who liked Trump per se, right? They're like, I'm not friends with him anymore. I'm like, why? Because he likes Trump. And I'm like, that's it? Like, you could believe in different things. Like, you could say like, I believe weed is good for you. And someone would say, well, weed's bad for you. I'm not gonna be friends with you because that guy likes weed. That's very, like, that's similar.
So narrow-minded.
I'm just like, you could still enjoy this person and like have a conversation of like why you like weed, why you don't like weed, why you like Trump, why you don't like Trump, and be okay with those different beliefs, but still have a growing conversation.
I mean, yeah, like that's how you have understandings and empathy for other people or whatever. It's where growth comes in. Remember, we stopped.
We were in Joshua Tree, guys, and there were these Trump ralliers with signs out.
This is way past election.
This
by
is
the way.
2021. Yeah.
And so yeah.
And we were driving, going to the grocery store, and Kate, her brother Katelyn, and our friend Kev, they were like, or mostly Kate, she's like, I want to go talk to them. And I'm like, why? Like, you're not going to win. I promise you. They're the type of people who just like, I believe this way, and whatever you say, I'm still going to believe the way I believe. And I ended up being right.
Well, okay. But so the thing that I wanted to get out of it is like, I'm not really like ahead in the newspapers type of thing. So
Yeah.
I actually do like asking questions and understanding people's
Sure.
opinions. So I did it more as
You want to know.
I want to understand these
Yeah.
people. I want to know why they think this way, why they support what they do, and if I can have any combative, logical
response.
yeah. So
Or are they something that's makes you open your mind?
yeah, like, oh, I understand it. So anyways, yes, they were exactly like you said they were, which I'm sure there were also Biden supporters that were the exact same way, right?
100%.
So, I mean, but by having conversations, I remember me and our friend made an argument that made the guy sit there and like
Think about it for a second.
think.
Yeah.
And he was like, oh, what? And his friend's yelling at him the whole time, like, don't talk to them. It was actually a really fun experience. So I don't know, like, and I'm not like, I would never be mad or like upset about them. Sure.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
That Joshua Tree trip, I think we're going to do it for the 4th year now?
I think, is it 3rd?
No, last year was 3rd.
Oh?
It's chapter 4.
Ooh.
I don't think I've ever done something so consistent in my life. The same time every single year and around the same month for a full ass trip. Like, my parents are probably envious of us right now. They're like, you won't go on vacation with us every year at this point, but you'll go on your Joshua Tree trip and do shrooms. They tell you to get my parents to do shrooms?
You did.
Yeah, my mom on 4th of July was like, you guys talk so good about them. Like, can I try? I was like, I have some. You want me to do it? And we're just tripping on the beach. And, like, they're, like, just, like, running backwards in the sand. And, like, I was like, this is so dope. Like, what is life right now?
So did they have any mind-opening experiences?
No, it wasn't a lot. It was
No?
just, like, a few. And
Yeah.
then probably just, like, relaxation, a little bit of body high. Nothing crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's cool that they were like open enough to do it.
Did I tell you about the tribe?
No,
I think I did at Bar Next Door.
maybe.
Okay, so I got some new shrooms, and the person I got them from was, I haven't seen her in a while, and she's like the plug. And I saw her, and she opens the door, and she's like pregnant. I was like, whoa, nice to see you. And like, it's so funny because when you see a pregnant person and you don't know that they're pregnant, you're shocked. You're like, congratulations, this is so cool. But she was talking about how she lives like this kind of like tribe lifestyle where the man she's with like has multiple girls or wives, and like they grow up, he supports everybody. And I was just shocked because I didn't know that like life existed. And living more and more in LA, I'm just like, it's so weird. Like so many people's realities are so different from your own. And like, that's an example of like these cult shows or documentaries that I have never watched, but people have told me about are real. And that's 1 degree of separation away.
I think it makes you think, oh my gosh, remember, this was actually a couple years ago in Joshua Tree when we talked about societal standards. Mm-hmm. And it was like, why do we have these here? And why do we think the way we think? And for instance, when you have like a polyamorous relationship, it's so mind-blowing. But when you look back at like our entire growth as humans and Homo sapiens, you realize like people used to be polyamorous. Like then one day it got to the point where, oh, this is how you should live life monogamously, and this is what our new normal is. And everyone kind of got started believing that was the only way of living, and that's what we've seen for a really long time. Yeah. And now it's opened up and expanded back to the beginning of time. Where now I would say, well, not like fully. I think it's LA. People in Tennessee be doing that stuff. Oh yeah. You already know Utah. But more like not so much women. Yeah. But you know what's crazy? And Homo sapiens, they literally say women when they got pregnant would have multiple mates because they thought that it would take on every good characteristic from every man that they mated with. That'd be dope. That'd be fucking dope. Yeah, for their offspring. So anyways.
I wish that was true. Imagine you could just create the dopest human.
I mean, well, soon we are heading that way, but not in a.
Kate's like, I'm gonna have the dopest kid, guys. Brian, watch out.
I mean, Brian.
Too soon. Kidding, bro.
My kid would be really dope.
Regardless, flipping in the air and shit. What are you most excited for in your life right now?
I mean, everything comes in waves of like my excitement. I think I didn't really get fully into it, but the leotard company is definitely something that I'm really excited for.
What's it called? Are you allowed to say?
Yeah. So it's called Kojin.
Kojin? What does that mean?
In Japanese, it kind of translates as this person, like bold, unique individual. And I think that's something kind of like we talked about. My style is eclectic. I think what you wear is an expression. And when you're in a leotard, so much of the time, like so much of your life, when you're a gymnast, you don't really get to express yourself in other ways. So wearing your leotard is how you get to express yourself.
Are you going to do some wild leotards? Because I feel like a lot of leotards out there, they're just very like simple and cute and this and blah. Versus like, imagine doing something loud. Like the tiger one that you had?
Yeah.
Like that was dope.
Thank you.
So sick.
That's the plan, is kind of different, like standing, like I think you designs.
I think you changed the gymnastics game.
You know, I hope that is the case. I think I did a lot of good things for the company I was working with when I had my collaboration with them. And so to continue that in my own vision is going to be really exciting. And I mean, it's definitely a process and you learn a lot throughout it, and I've had fun with everything that we've done so far. We're hopefully going to launch. I'm like, you know, everything takes longer than you expect. I'm like, oh, I'm going to launch by summer, but then that gets postponed more and more. It always takes longer. So now I'm saying hopefully Q1 of next year.
Oh, Q1. Come on, business lady. Let's go. Q1.
So, I am just like really looking forward to it because I haven't done I love creativity and I feel like I haven't done a lot of it in this past year. Yeah. So now my job gets to be creative and I get to do what I love, plus something that I have loved a lot of my life. Yeah. So
just combining the two.
Yeah.
What does creativity and art do for you?
I mean, like I've said 1,000 times now, it's like it helps me express myself, but also it makes me feel like freer as a person because you realize art is up for interpretation.
It's subjective for sure.
Yeah, it's subjective, and what you feel creating it is completely different than what someone feels maybe looking at it. And so to be able to have an open interpretation of something that you've created is really cool to me, because I mean, we're not here in life to tell people how they should feel or what they should do. And that's exactly what I want to do with my life.
But you should do the things that make you feel the ways you want to feel, right?
Yeah.
Happy. What's your definition of happiness?
Well, happiness is fleeting. So I think looking for like happiness is when I feel like satisfied, when I feel content, when I feel like I am my best. When I'm laughing till my stomach hurts, which I feel like as I've gotten older, I haven't had like belly laughs the way I used to. And
really?
So, yeah, I mean, of course, like I have them sporadically. And when I do, I think our
friend group makes each other laugh a lot.
Yeah. And I like, am so grateful for it, and never take those moments for granted, because it's always like, it's a good time to have a good belly laugh.
Yeah. We love a good belly laugh.
Yeah.
Why LA? You could do what you're doing right now with working with brands, or like you have your partnerships like anywhere. Like, why LA? Why are you staying here?
I love LA. I think there's something for everyone in LA. I mean, it's a stunning place. The weather's great. But I think my friends keep me here. Like, it's so nice to just hit you up or any of our friends up on a random day, which I think is really rare in LA too, because we don't have good public transportation, and it's also really spread out. But I found a really good group that's like down to hang out on weekdays.
Yo, our Mondays and Wednesdays are wild, guys.
And so I never really want to lose that. I think like, you know, I've like moved away, like I've tried the whole living somewhere else, and it's great, and I think it's really cool because it makes me step out and like meet other people. Sure. But when you have
this community,
it's like, why? And maybe it's not forever to like live here, but for this time being, it's exactly where I want to be and exactly what I want to be doing.
It's so funny because like I feel like we're just big kids. And I have like all these friends who have houses, and not just houses, but houses with families and like 6 dogs. Like my best friend from home is married, is about to have like a second kid soon, has 6 dogs, is working on his house every day. I'm just like, I'm out on a Monday editing, personal training, all this stuff, and then getting drunk and having the best Monday of my life with my friends that night. And I'm just like, it's so different. And like, we're just big kids. And I feel like that kid energy is important, and to keep it as long as you can, or for forever as well. Like I have some clients who are big creative people, and they're in their 50s, and they act like complete goofballs, and I'm just like, I kind of want to be that.
Yeah. I mean, everyone's different, right? And their needs are different, but I think like as long as you love what you're doing, then I mean, big kid energy is my move too.
What do you do with your free time now? Because like, I guess it's the opposite of your life right now compared to most of your life. Most of your life, every day you're doing a workout and you're getting better at the skills you have, and you have a lot of free time now. Like, do you get lost in it? Do you like feel guilty about just like chilling on the couch 24 hours or sleeping in until like 1, 2, 3 p.m. sometimes? I
used to not, but my boyfriend is really like on a schedule. And makes me almost feel bad about it. Like, what are you doing today? What are you getting better at? I'm like, oh.
Like, he'll ask you that?
Yeah.
And what did you say?
And he makes me check my emails every day.
I feel like you should check your emails every day.
I used to not. So I've kind of felt more guilty about having days where I just sit on the couch. But some days it's needed. So it just depends on the day. I hang out with my friends when I'm in town, which is really rare. I travel a lot. I'm actually
travel a lot for work, right?
Yeah, for work. And now I've started mixing in leisure because most of my life I traveled for work and I never got to experience a place. So
it's like you're there, but you're not there.
Yeah. Like, probably realistically, I could have done that Toyota commercial anywhere and I wouldn't even realized, but I am focusing on doing things for fun now, and I'm going on a 3-week trip next week to Italy, Croatia, Switzerland, Paris, Germany, and the UK.
I'm so excited for you.
Yeah.
What does traveling do for you?
I think it makes me... I mean, every time I've traveled, it's brought something new, whether it's friendships in different countries or whether it's new, like eyesight, like we were just talking about, meeting different people with different perspectives and gaining new understandings of things. Like everyone I've encountered is really pretty open about their views and opinions, and you just get to chat and like banter and find new ways of looking at the world, and you realize how connected we all are. And so I think it's really cool. I like traveling with people. I also like traveling alone. So I mean, the first half I'll be on my own and get to do my own things, which I think is really important to be able to have.
Sure.
You know, like my mom worries. My mom started crying on the phone with me, like, I don't want you going by yourself. Which maybe as a girl or like a young woman, I should be like.
You also got some energy to you that it's like, don't fuck with me type of deal.
That's what I like to. That's what I like to
but
believe.
But also, like, sometimes I got worried when you told me about your Berlin. No, not Berlin. What story? Amsterdam story, and. We won't go too far into it, but like you were just by yourself and a lot of bad things could have happened, but like the best things happened.
I have the best guardian angel, I will say.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I know that I have to be on my P's and Q's constantly. And so like I try to be really aware while I travel by myself, and like mom's like, don't have your like head buried in your phone, which like even when I walk around here, unless I need to understand where I'm going, like I typically have it down and I'm looking around constantly. So I just try to keep those same things in mind when I travel by myself. And I'm also really open to experiences though, and meeting new people and having, you know, a really good time. That's why I'm out there and like trying you know, meeting new friends and having new life experiences. So I never.
People from different countries, like it's even more so different because they didn't grow up in your hometown, they didn't grow in the country that you have.
Yeah.
So it's a totally different upbringing. They view the world in a totally different lens. And you're like, what? Really? And you'll be so confused about some of the things that they believe in. And you're like, really?
It is really interesting traveling and like seeing the way people are. Like, especially I've got to spend now a decent amount of time in Sweden, and they're really like similar to America, but think that they're different than us. Like, as my boyfriend always put it, they're a couple years behind us.
In what way?
Think like politically and like, well, not socially, because socially they're pretty closed off and segregated, but they don't realize it. And maybe sometimes we are too, not in our communities, because I think we live, you know, different people constantly, but now I feel like we're, you know, we hang out in our groups that are like-minded and certain things like that, so we are segregated in a way. But anyways, I don't know, like, it's just interesting.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So
Sweden's sick.
You're kind of a unicorn in the sense that not many people will travel the path that you did to get where you are right now, right? So not many like athletes just in general can like reach the status that you have. Oh, she's learning, guys. And they wouldn't have been able to like make a living doing what you're doing as well too. For anyone out there who wants to be a gymnast or a professional athlete and pursue the path that you have taken to get to where you're at right now, what do you have to tell them, like, if they want to do that?
I think to be where you want to be, you have to sacrifice things. But I heard something really cool this one time where I was like, don't think of them as sacrifices, think of them as investments. And, you know, as you get older, you start putting your money in different places and you realize nothing's guaranteed when you do that. Some are riskier moves and some are, you know, a little more conservative. But even with the conservative ones, you don't, like, markets dip and they come back up sometimes and sometimes they don't. And so
let's go business.
So
let's go stock market. Yo, I met Kate 3 years ago when she didn't even know what the stock market was.
Yeah,
dude.
I knew. Like, I'm like, what?
She knows
heck?
what Q1 means now.
Hey.
Hey. Sorry, continue.
So, yeah, like I think you think of it as the investments that you're putting in, and you never know what the payoff is going to be. But when you do it, you full-heartedly put yourself in it, and you give 100% of yourself as much as you can to that moment, and you learn something, whether it be that it wasn't for you. You can learn that, but you could also learn so many different characteristics and disciplines, I guess. So,
like, how did you get it to your extent though? Because you've won like a lot of events, right?
Yeah.
You would say there's a lot of people who train just as much as you, but never won an event. What made you different from them? If you had to think about it, or if you had to guess or theorize. Kate's like, I'm not trying to think about this right now.
Well, I'm like, I mean, what wins in the end? Is it natural talent? Is it hard work? Is it a mixture of the two? And I mean, look, it probably was a mixture of like natural talent and also having a lot of drive and having parents that pushed me to my limits. And when I thought I couldn't keep going or didn't want to keep going, I had no choice. And I think that our society, for the most part, has become really soft and has learned to give up, which that was never an option for me.
Never an option.
I remember someone asked, like, what is the worst and the best thing that your parents have ever done? And it's the same thing. They never let me give up. And it was the worst thing and it was the best thing. So I think you realize, you know, times are going to get hard. It's not always going to be fun. But when you love something and when you give 100% of yourself something, like to something, it will pay off in whatever way. And you just keep your head up and remember that that's not what makes you who you are. Like, I think I reached my competitive greatness when I realized I am not a gymnast, and this doesn't make me
a better person.
It doesn't make me who I am. It's not my identity. I'm doing this because guess what? I only have 4 more years in this sport, or 1 more year in this sport, and I'm going to leave it all on the floor because I've realized I've understood life on this side and I understand life on the inside of this sport, and I'm going to take all of my inspirations, put it in and mold it into this routine, into this performance, and let it all go.
Let it all go. Put all of yourself into it.
Yeah, and when I leave the gym, when I leave the competition floor, I leave it.
Leave it on the competitive table.
Yeah, yeah. And then I focus on whatever's next and come back to it the next day.
Love that. I think we'll end it there. That was so good.
Hey.
Kate's also super hungry right now, guys. We're going to go grub a dub-dub.
Oh my gosh. I forgot.
Thanks for coming on. Where can everyone find you?
You know, handle is Katelyn_Ohashi on most things, except someone got it to me quicker on TikTok, so it's Katelyn Ohashi_.
Someone got your handle?
Yeah, I mean,
TikTok?
Of course it's not anyone named Katelyn Ohashi.
Yeah.
You know, I like my emails are Katelyn Ohashi.
Yeah.
With nothing. So I'm like, yeah, you know, whatever. So we had to get that verified. But found out I got hacked on Facebook. Business and my personal.
I'm sorry about that.
Unfortunate.
It's
so
all
we got
good.
it. We're getting it fixed right now. And
The internet's such a scary place too.
Yeah.
Like that.
I know. I will get better at social media at some point, guys. I'm working on it.
You don't think you're good at it right now?
No, but
why not? Also, why do you need to get better?
Well, because I want to.
Okay.
Yeah, because I'm like, you know what? I like sharing my story, or like sharing my life and stuff. And like I said, I'm just awkward on camera.
I don't think you are.
On camera. I'm not awkward. I'm not that, depending on the time.
Hey, you're on camera right now.
Person. But yeah, because we're having conversation, so it's easy enough. But yeah, like I want to do fashion stuff, like I said. So I want to get better in that aspect of social media. Is like,
okay.
I want to.
Is that the transformation of Katelyn Ohashi from gymnast into like fashion into leotard line? That's like the next life move.
Yeah,
chess move.
And photography.
And photography.
And poetry, of course, still and always and forever.
Poetry is hard too because you don't see like famous poets, like famous musicians. Like there's no Beyonce of poetry.
The closest thing is Rupee.
Yeah, which is Rupee's great. I gave you that book for
Yeah.
your birthday one. Mm-hmm. It's so good. Rupee's
She's
so
really
good.
awesome.
But it's not even close to like
No.
the sales of like a Beyonce or like, you know.
Yeah, that is very true.
How do we make poetry great again?
Was it ever? No, I'm just kidding. No, I mean, there are a lot of awesome, famous poets
out there.
But
like the
I mean,
Edgar Allan Poe of like today's, like, not that dark, but you know what I mean.
I don't know if it ever will be, and maybe that's the beautiful part of poetry is like it's niche. It's like for the people that really love it, and if you don't love it, it's okay, you know. But the supporters are really big supporters.
They are.
So yeah, I mean, modernizing it, making it more accessible, and
Well, the biggest thing recently was probably Biden's
Amanda Grant. Oh wait, no, not. Shoot. Amanda.
So basically, when Biden came to office, there was this African American girl in a yellow dress who said this like really beautiful poem, and it kind of made poetry cool.
Yeah, it did. I mean, really cool.
Yeah.
And she's really cool.
Yeah, she blew up overnight.
Yes, and she actually did. So, yeah, more moments like that for poets.
Like, I don't even know how that happened. Like, that's crazy. Like, how did someone just do their poem for the president to be inaugurated into the office?
I know.
So crazy.
Yeah.
Do you have any dreams anymore right now like big life goals?
It comes in waves because I've been working on a project about for probably like 4 years now.
Yes.
And it just like comes in waves where I get really excited about it, and there's like, one step of progress, and I'm like, yes, it's gonna happen, and then it's like momentum stops, and you just get super bummed about it.
Yeah.
And so it's like that is my dream, and it coming
into
together.
fruition.
Yeah, like this point would be
So
insane.
dope. Yeah.
But then I'm like, what are the odds?
All good things take time too, and consistency. Like the
Yeah.
biggest thing about this podcast, like this is episode 100, which is crazy. Like I've had 100 conversations.
That's
Like,
crazy.
That is wild. I have 2 to 3 hours just talking to cool people.
I say, how do you talk that much?
But it definitely makes you learn like social cues and like how to continue conversation. And it's a big skill to have, especially in business and life with making friends. Like the biggest thing that I realized, like I have most of my messages muted except like our friend group, because I don't have enough time to hang out with all the people who hit me up during the day. I don't know if you have that problem too. Like you have a lot of friends, and I'm just like, yeah, I can't give my energy to this many people, but it's also because I've developed these skills for those people to want to be able to hang out with me.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, I don't actually have that problem. I decided I'm like focused on one type of person thing. I'm like, I actually just realized the other week, and I'm like, Jason, I realize you're my thing that I'm focusing on. And I'm like, I've neglected other friendships. So,
But also if you're having a good time, like,
I mean, yeah, he's a blast, but I am like, I want to get back into,
just hanging out with people.
Hanging out with people and having like being the friend that I can and want to be.
You're also the glue to a lot of friendships. Like your Friendsgiving. I've never had a Friendsgiving like that. We had this big table in Katelyn's old place, and it was literally, think about, what's the Pilgrims and Indians stuff? It was a big Thanksgiving feast with a huge table, right? And it was no family really. It was Katelyn's parents were there visiting, but
Were they? No, they weren't.
I think they were.
No,
No?
that was a different time.
Different time. It was probably 20 or 30 people just sitting outside in a big family like table. I was like, I've never experienced anything like this. And it was a beautiful thing that you put that together, because I don't think the majority of people in LA get to experience a situation like that.
I mean, also the food was so good.
It was also fire.
It was insane. And everyone really pulled up to that thing because I was like, people are going to like warm up some store-bought food. But no, people
Cooked.
came ready.
We fried a turkey, guys. We had lobster mac and cheese. I made some sriracha maple Brussels sprouts.
Yeah.
Chaz brought some sweet potatoes with like marshmallows in it. Whew.
Yeah, it was honestly...
gas.
It was a really good time, and it makes me really happy to think of my friends just like in those moments. And there aren't that many there aren't that many like opportunities in LA, I feel like, to have those moments. So That's why I love hosting, because it makes it happen.
Before we close up, what makes a good friend? Like, what are the characteristics of a good friend to you? Especially when you reach like a certain status level too. Like my biggest quality is your friends' wins are your wins.
Yeah.
And if you don't feel that way, if you don't feel like your friends are rooting for you on the way up, then they shouldn't be your friend. That's my biggest thing.
Yeah.
For you, what is it? What's like the biggest characteristics of like a good friend?
That's so hard, and it constantly shifts, right, depending on the place you are in life. And I feel like for me, yeah, I think what you just said was really on point. But even more so for my life and the way I like move is like someone that's really down and doesn't get butthurt about, like, yeah, I'm not going to be on the phone with you 24/7. I'm not going to text you back constantly. Like, when we pick up, and that's really important in friendship for me. Like, you don't get sad about the moments when we're not chatting, and we can talk every month and be like, we're still best
it's
of
like
friends.
I might not see you in person for 6 months, but like when I see you in person, on that 7th month, like we picked off.
Yeah.
We're doing something like it was yesterday.
Yeah. When you get older, you don't have as much time for people, but the people you do really have time for, you hope that it's at least somewhat reciprocated. I'm not talking about everything has to be the same energy that I give you, you should be giving me, because that's unrealistic expectations, and we all show love in different ways. But at least feeling a little bit like somewhat like you are someone that they are giving a little bit of effort to. Because I've had to let go of relationships where it was one-sided.
Friendships too, right?
Yeah. Like that's what I mean. Like friendships, like I've had to let go of, and it's not always easy. And I still think about those people all the time, but I just gave too much in it. Yeah. And it's sad when something like that ends. Yeah.
Because a friendship's supposed to be mutually beneficial, right? Like they're doing something for your life and you're doing something for their life. That's why you guys are in each other's lives. Yeah.
And I mean, honestly, friendships are worse to lose than a intimate relationship, because those are people you know, I talk to people about things that I wouldn't maybe necessarily talk to my partner about. But when you lose that, like stuff you take for granted, and then you all of a sudden it hits you and you're like, that's my whole life, like my friends that I have. And so that's why I cherish my friendships that I have now.
Love that. I appreciate you, my friend.
I appreciate you.
Cool. Go check Katelyn out, guys. Go check out the Leotard line.
Coming Q1.
Coming Q1. Kate doesn't do gymnastics anymore, so we're gonna get her working out again, guys.
Oh yeah, Nate's got me in a couple classes. Yeah, starting Pilates again.
You're really good. Your body mechanics are insane. We should go surfing again.
Yeah. Yes. I need to find my wetsuit.
Someone stole her wetsuit too, guys.
Moving stuff.
Anything else that you want to tell the people before we clock out?
No. Thanks.
Sweet. Thanks. See you guys. We'll see you. Bye.